are ordered. Members will conduct their votes by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote.
The House moves on to final passage on the fiscal year 2012 spending bill for the Department of Homeland Security. $42 billion bill, 3% less this year, or for 2012 than this year. The bill is 6% less than requested by President Obama. The underlying measure, restructures the way FEMA distributes money to state and local governments. It also bars funds to transfer Guantanamo Bay detainees. The administration supports the bill in its current form. This is a final passage vote, a 5-minute vote. Ahead in the U.S. House, they are expected to move on to general debate on the Military Construction and Veterans Programs Bill for 2012. Now, off the floor on the House, the Rules Committee will be meeting following this vote, this series of votes, on 2 resolutions expected to come to the floor tomorrow dealing with Libya. One is that which was introduced by Dennis Kucinich, a measure dealing with the War Powers Resolution, saying that Congress does not approve of the U.S. intervention in Libya and asks for an immediate withdrawal of forces. John Boehner, House Speaker, introduced a parallel resolution late this afternoon. And John Stanton of Roll Call writes that he outlined that resolution in a meeting with his members today. The resolution would assert that the White House has not yet sought authorization for the war, and Congress has not granted that authority. It would also reiterate opposition to sending in ground troops. So look for likely debate on both of those resolutions. Again, Rules meeting this evening to consider how they will proceed forward with debate on Friday. The House, we can tell you, will be in tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock Eastern. Final passage vote now on Homeland Security.
On this vote, the yeas are 231, the nays 188. The bill passes. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. We're going to switch out. For what purpose does the gentleman from Connecticut rise?
Mr. Speaker, by direction of the Democratic Caucus, I offer a privileged resolution and ask for its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report the resolution.
House Resolution 293, resolved that the following named member...
Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be considered as read and printed in the record.
Without objection, the clerk will read.
Resolved that the following named member be and is hereby elected to the following standing committee of the House of Representatives. 1. Committee on Homeland Security, Ms. Hochul.
Without objection, the resolution is agreed to and the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Texas rise?
Speaker, on amendment number 1, and I would like to place for the record my vote, and I ask unanimous consent that my vote of no be placed in the record at the appropriate place.
Without objection, so ordered. For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas rise?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent.
Mr. Cuellar, the gentleman from Texas.
I ask for unanimous consent, Speaker, to remove Representative Paul Ryan as a co-sponsor of H.R. 771.
Without objection, the request is so ordered. For purposes, gentleman from Texas, Mr. Culberson, right.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent.
The gentleman will suspend. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Jackson, rise?
Mr. Speaker, I just want to make sure that the corrected vote or the lack of vote was amendment number 1 of Rock from Indiana, and that is a vote of no. I thank you. I ask unanimous consent to be placed in the record.
Without objection, the gentlewoman's statement will appear in the record. For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Culberson, rise?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and to exclude extraneous material on H.R. 2055, and that I may include tabular material on the same.
Without objection. Pursuant to House Resolution 288 and Rule 18, the Chair declares the House in the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union for the consideration of H.R. 2055. The Chair appoints a gentleman from Nebraska, Mr. Terry, to preside over the Committee of the Whole.
The House is in the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union for the consideration of H.R. 2055, which the clerk will report by title.
A bill making appropriations for military construction, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and related agencies for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2012, and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the bill is considered read the first time. The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Culberson, and the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Bishop, each will control 30 minutes. The Chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Chairman, it's my privilege to lay out tonight for the House for consideration the appropriations bill for military construction and Veterans Affairs with my good friend Mr. Sanford Bishop of Georgia. We have worked together arm in arm in this committee to make sure that our men and women in uniform have everything they need to do their job. We on this committee think of our job as sort of we're the peace of mind committee for the United States military and for our veterans. We have an obligation, this Congress, this government has an obligation first and foremost to provide for national security, to make sure that our men and women in uniform, not only in here at home but overseas, have everything they need to do their job. The scope of our appropriations bill today includes the construction, of course, of all the military bases here and overseas. We have fully funded in this bill all of the requests of the branches of the military for our men and women in uniform on active duty. We've made sure that all the retired men and women and who have served this nation have everything they need when it comes to their to the veterans hospitals, the Department of Veteran Affairs. We are laying before the House tonight this funding bill as a part of our nation's. I'd like to also think of it as part of our nation's mortgage payment. This is one of those fundamental obligations that we have as a government to ensure that our military is fully funded, that they've got the equipment, the logistical support that they need, that their housing is the best it can be, that they've got the facilities are the very best they can be. And this is one of those fundamental obligations we've absolutely got to take care of. We are in this bill, in all the appropriations bills, Mr. Chairman, brought to the House for the first time. This new Republican majority, this conservative majority, is for the first time money that has been left in the Treasury unspent in previous years was just spent in other areas. For the first time, under the leadership of Chairman Hal Rogers of Kentucky, our committee, the other subcommittees of appropriations, are returning that unspent money back to taxpayers to reduce the deficit. Chairman Rogers and the leadership of the House, Speaker Boehner, our Republican leadership, all of us are committed to bringing the nation, doing everything in our power to get back to a balanced budget, to reduce federal spending, to bring the size, scope, and cost of the federal government back under control. While we recognize our responsibility to fully fund and take care of our troops in military construction, of our veterans, through the Veterans Affairs, through the hospitals, through the VA, we also have an obligation to manage the money in a way that's fiscally sound. So we've identified rescissions or returned money, unspent money to taxpayers in the amount of $388 million. Again, the first time that's ever been done. We found money in the, and then again, these savings don't impact in any way the level of services provided to our veterans. This in no way impacts or diminishes the quality of housing or the level of service necessary on bases here in the United States or overseas. But we have found savings of, for example, $100 million in planning and design money that was left over from previous years. We found $100 million in unspent funds from the BRAC, the Base Realignment and Closure Commission in 1990, money that was unspent and left over. We found money in a variety of accounts, Mr. Chairman, that in previous years would have been respent elsewhere, and under the leadership of Chairman Rogers and Speaker Boehner, our subcommittee, every subcommittee of the Appropriations Committee is committed to return that money to taxpayers and to find savings everywhere we can that will not diminish, again, the level of service provided to our military, because we want to make sure they have absolutely no worries as they stand on the wall defending our freedom every night, every day, 24/7. We have also incrementally funded, Mr. Chairman, 5 projects and found savings of $304 million that we have been able to return to taxpayers. And in 3 cases, we found there's 3 projects which we did not fund for the F-35 aircraft facility at the Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, because that aircraft is not ready to be fully deployed. There's a central distribution facility in Germany, a commissary building, a variety of savings that we look for, not just unspent money, but looking for ways that we could save money for taxpayers while maintaining that very high level of service for our men and women in uniform, while being good stewards of the public's precious tax dollars. We, in the area of Veterans Affairs, Mr. Chairman, were able to find savings of $25 million in the general administration of the VA. We also found savings of $136 million in information technology, and in a whole separate category of accounts for minor construction, we saved about $75 million there. All of this money has been returned to taxpayers to reduce the deficit, to do everything we can within our power to reduce the level of obligation that our children and grandchildren are going to inherit. Finally, I want to point out we also found savings. The U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims had asked for a new courthouse, and in light of the unprecedented size of the debt and the deficit, we did not recommend to the House that that new courthouse be built. That resulted in a $25 million savings. The Court of Appeals for Veteran Claims does a great job, but they're working out of a they're working in a leased facility right now, and we recommend that be continued. Mr. Chairman, we have in the situation the nation faces today is truly unprecedented. We calculated that about $2.2 trillion in revenue comes into the Treasury every year, yet the existing obligations of the federal government to pay the current liability of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, interest on the national debt, our veterans benefits are all programs that have to be funded up front. That's sort of our national mortgage payment. And those programs alone consume $2.3 trillion. So if you just look at the math right out of the gate, the nation begins the year at the stroke of midnight on the first day of the year. American taxpayers are already $105 billion in debt. So every dollar the Appropriations Committee spends all year is borrowed. This is why you've seen fiscal conservatives, all of us, constitutional conservatives in this new majority, are so passionate, are so determined to get us back on path to a balanced budget, to do everything we can within each one of these subcommittees to find savings. Well, I'm so grateful to Chairman Rogers and Speaker Boehner for the first time returning unspent money to reduce the deficit. We've had to reduce the overall amount of money available to every sector of the government dramatically, and it's tough. We've got a lot of tough savings, but in the area of supporting our military, when it comes to making sure that they've got the best equipment, but they've got the absolute best in their housing, in their hospital care, whether you are active duty military or if you are retired and in the care of the Veterans Administration, you can be sure that the United States Congress stands behind you. We're immensely proud of you. We've made sure that we have fully funded every need that you've got. We've made sure that you are given the absolute best medical care. And all of the family members out there who have sons or daughters or fathers or mothers serving the United States military need to know that despite this tough budget environment, this Congress stands behind your father, your mother, your brother, your sister who serves in the military, and we are absolutely committed to ensure that they've got the very best equipment possible on the face of the earth, that they've got everything they need to do their job, to stand on the wall defending this great nation 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as they do so beautifully. We are very fortunate on this subcommittee, Mr. Chairman. We've got an extraordinary group of people working behind the scenes who have for years to make sure that this subcommittee has produced a bill that the House can support in a bipartisan way with great pride. I want to make sure to thank our extraordinary staff, Tim Peterson, who is our chief clerk of the subcommittee and has served with the Appropriations Committee for 22 years and served as on the staff of the Secretary of the Navy for nine years. Tim has done an extraordinary job. I'm very grateful to him for the time and effort he's put into this bill. To Sue Quantius for her work on the committee and her expertise when it comes to Veterans Affairs. To Sarah Young, who's done such an extraordinary job as well and has been such a great asset. They've all done a magnificent job, and we're lucky to have them. On the minority side, Matt Washington's just done an extraordinary job. Danny Cromer. All of us have worked together, arm in arm. My good friend, Mr. Bishop from Georgia. This is one bill, Mr. Chairman, that I know that the members of the House will be able to support in a bipartisan way with great pride, because our subcommittee has produced this bill in a bipartisan way without regard to party label. Our entire focus has been how can we make sure that our men and women in uniform, active duty and retired, have got everything they need. How can we be better stewards of the taxpayers' precious dollars? We identified things, for example, we share concern for money that was unspent by veterans hospitals and giant facilities like the new one in Denver that I understand had $978 million, Tim, I believe? $978 million unspent for years. And we put language in this bill telling them they're going to lose that money after 5 years unless they make sure they get it obligated and get these hospitals built. Had great support from Mr. Bishop on ensuring that our veterans who have valid claims for disabilities get those disability claims handled in an expeditious way. We've worked together arm in arm not just to find savings but to make sure we identify efficiencies. How can we make sure that our men and women in uniform not only have the best housing but that our veterans who have retired are given the best possible service. We have on every occasion throughout the year working on this bill found that we have found areas of agreement in this bill, and we produce it in a way that is really unanimous. It's a real privilege for me to work with Mr. Bishop, with our ranking member from Washington State, Mr. Dix. Been a real privilege to work with you, sir, on this. But above all, extraordinarily proud to serve as a subcommittee chairman under my chairman, Hal Rogers of Kentucky, who I count as a role model, as a mentor to me. Mr. Rogers has been a very good friend and a great leader for this committee, and is a stalwart fiscal conservative committed to make sure that our men and women in uniform continue to be the very best military in the world. It'd be it's my privilege to be here tonight to present this bipartisan bill to the House. I will reserve the balance of my time and happily
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman
reserve
from
and
Georgia.
allow the gentleman from Georgia to speak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman's recognized for as much time as you may consume.
I am pleased to join Chairman Culberson as the House takes up the fiscal year 2012 Appropriations Bill for Military Construction, Veterans Affairs, and related agencies. The Milcon VA bill is critically important to the strength and the well-being of our military, our veterans, and the families who sacrifice so much to defend our country. Working with Chairman Culberson and the members of the subcommittee, we've crafted a bill that will address the funding needs for military construction and family housing for our troops and for their families, as well as other quality-of-life construction projects. In addition, it will provide funding for many important VA programs, as well as agencies like the Veterans Court of Appeals and the American Battle Monuments Commission. The bill before us today touches every soldier, every sailor, every Marine, and every airman. In addition, this bill will also impact military spouses, their children, and every veteran that participates in veterans programs. I want to commend Chairman Culberson for his hard work. He's done his best to hold hearings that he believes are important to the work of the subcommittee. Together, we sat through 12 hearings, gaining valuable insight into the workings of all of the agencies under our subcommittee's jurisdiction. I'd like to thank all of the subcommittee members and recognize them for their hard work on the bill. I believe that the minority was treated fairly during this process, and I want to thank Chairman Culberson for that. We worked very well in a very collegial fashion, and I think that that is the way that this institution should work. Chairman Culberson has already provided the funding highlights in the bill, and I won't repeat them all, but I'd like to point out a few items that I believe are extremely important. The Department of Defense schools. The bill before us today includes $483 million for the renovation and replacement of 15 Department of Defense schools. 6 schools here in the United States and 9 schools at overseas installations will be refurbished with this funding. Mr. Chairman, I believe that providing the funds for DoD schools will not only help our service members' children get a quality education in a safe facility, but will also give our service members some peace of mind. Medical center replacement. Mr. Chairman, I was pleased that the bill includes $1.1 billion for the medical center replacement in Germany. As you know, a large proportion of the serious casualties from Iraq and the Afghanistan theaters are treated there in Landstuhl, and I'm pleased to see that we're making this very, very important investment. Regarding Veterans Affairs, the bill contains $52.5 billion for advance appropriations for medical services, for medical support and compliance, and medical facilities at the VA, which is $1.8 billion above the amount that was included in the FY11 continuing resolution. Mr. Chairman, I strongly believe that advance funding provides timely and predictable funding for the veterans' health care system. For example, during the delay in the FY11 funding, veterans' health care funding was already in place, and the veterans' health care programs were not subject to the continuing resolution process, and our veterans did not have to go without their health care. Mr. Chairman, overall, the bill provides adequate funding for programs included in this bill. However, I'm troubled by one item. Unfortunately, during the full committee markup, an amendment was adopted to eliminate funding to implement Executive Order 13502, which was issued in February 2009, which addresses project labor agreements, PLAs. Now, if you're opposed to that executive order, that's fine, but using the Mills-Convey bill to address this issue, I believe, is the wrong place. The language is purely an ideological and a political provision that really is beyond the scope of this bill. If you want to deal with this issue, we should deal with it on a labor bill and not on the military construction VA bill. The Mills-Convey bill has always enjoyed broad bipartisan support and has avoided divisive issues like this, no matter which party held the gavel. I believe that including this language only causes unnecessary complications and does nothing to help our service members or our veterans. Mr. Chairman, please know that as we continue through the process, I'll work to address this issue, because an item like this really has no place in a bill that has always placed our troops, their families, and our veterans above ideology. Before I close, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recognize the staff for all of the work and the time that they've put into this bill. From the Minority Committee staff, I'd like to thank Matt Washington and Danny Cromer, as well as Michael Reed and Greg Browder from my personal staff. From the Majority Committee staff, I'd like to thank Tim Peterson, Sue Quantius, Sarah Young, and Tracy Russell, as well as Alec Fritchie and Evan Iwaki. From the Chairman's personal office. I'd also like to thank Mr. Dix, our ranking member, and Mr. Rogers, who set the standard for the committee and for the subcommittees in their collegial relationship and their ability to work together and their effort to make sure that we move these appropriations bills through regular order. I appreciate that very much, and I reserve the balance of my time, Mr. Chairman.
Reserves. Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, it's my privilege to yield such time as he may consume to the distinguished chairman of the full committee.
The gentleman
Congressman
is
Hal
recognized.
Rogers of Kentucky.
The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for as much time as he may consume.
I thank the chairman for yielding this time, and I want to, at the outset, congratulate him on a great job on this bill. He and his terrific staff have worked long and hard, along with the subcommittee members, to produce, I think, a star of a bill. So on your maiden voyage, Mr. Chairman, congratulations on a good job. And to Mr. Bishop and the minority members of the subcommittee, including my distinguished cohort, Mr. Dix, ranking on the full committee, we've all worked together on this, and we appreciate the collegial atmosphere, as Mr. Bishop has said, that has governed this proceeding. So I rise in support of this act. Colleagues on both sides of the aisle agree that our nation's service members, their families, our veterans, deserve the greatest quality of care and support for their service and their sacrifices. This bill funds their most pressing needs in a timely manner, while also acknowledging the urgent need to rein in federal spending in a time of historically high and dangerous deficits. This legislation provides $72.5 billion in discretionary funding for military construction projects, veterans programs, and other agencies that support the quality of life of our warfighters and veterans and families. This funding level represents a $615 million cut from last year's level and a $1.2 billion reduction from the budgetary request. The bill fully funds the construction of Department of Defense hospitals and clinics, schools, family housing, providing our military personnel with the resources to effectively advance U.S. missions abroad and the support they need here at home. The bill also protects the health and well-being of our veterans, funding medical care, disability benefits, and education benefits. But in addition to adequately funding these programs, the subcommittee also made difficult but responsible choices that eliminate excess spending wherever appropriate. Much of the reduction in this bill comes from savings related to the BRAC process and from rescissions of previous year funding left over from lower than estimated construction costs. The bill also includes provisions for strong oversight over spending. Mr. Chairman, cleaning up the way we spend taxpayer dollars will help balance our nation's budgets and will show the American taxpayers that we can be trusted with their hard-earned money. We can't restrict cuts to only some areas of government. All agencies and programs must be held accountable to tighter budgets with more stringent supervision. Chairman Culberson and members of this subcommittee have shown great fiscal restraint and a commitment to real savings in reducing the discretionary spending in this bill below the 2011 levels while providing the resources our troops and our vets deserve. So again, Mr. Chairman, I want to congratulate Chairman Culberson, Ranking Member Bishop, all the members of the subcommittee, and my ranking partner, Mr. Dix, for great work on this bill, and of course to again say how much we appreciate the work of this fine staff, both on the committee, both on the minority and majority level. A great work. I believe this bill is an excellent representation of the good work that we can do in Congress when we work together, both as we support our troops and veterans and as we work in regular order to fund our government responsibly. I urge colleagues to support the bill and yield back.
Gentleman from Texas reserves. Gentleman from Georgia.
Mr. Chairman, I am delighted to yield 4 minutes to the distinguished ranking member of the Defense Subcommittee and of the Full Appropriations Committee, Mr. Dix of the State of Washington.
For 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop, and I want to congratulate you on being the new ranking member on Milcon VA, and also Chairman Culberson, who has, I think, done an outstanding job, and of course, my good friend and colleague, Hal Rogers, the chairman of our committee. And I want to also congratulate the staff. The staff has done an amazing job, considering we had to go through the 2011 episode and then come right back and get the 2012 bill out. The Milcon VA subcommittee has always had a strong reputation for common ground and bipartisanship, as members traditionally work together to find construction of military facilities and strive to improve the quality of life and care afforded to our veterans and military families. Many years ago, during the Reagan administration, we got David Stockman to allow us and Cap Weinberger to do incremental funding on military hospitals, and I'm glad the committee has gone back to an incremental funding approach. I think it's the only way we can do these major projects. We all acknowledge the challenge facing the nation today with respect of the debt and deficit, and I believe this bill has done a commendable job addressing these fiscal challenges while ensuring that we are not impacting the level of care and benefits that our service members have so rightfully earned. Military construction is funded at $14 billion, which is $2.6 billion below the 11 enacted amount and $752 million below the President's request. The subcommittee achieved those cuts through incremental funding of projects and by eliminating funding for several projects that were ahead of need. As Ranking Member Bishop noted, this bill makes a strong investments in the Defense Department schools by investing $483 million for construction and replacement of substandard facilities. I have been a strong advocate for the modernization of schools serving the children of our nation's servicemen, and I commend the Chairman and Ranking Member on their commitment to this effort. The Department of Veterans Affairs would be funded at $58.3 billion in discretionary spending, which is $1.85 billion above the FY11 enacted level and $476 million below the President's request. Most of this funding is for veterans medical services. The recommendation provides full funding of $69.5 billion for the mandatory VA programs providing compensation and pensions, educational benefits, vocational rehabilitation, life insurance, and housing loan programs. I'd like to commend the Chairman and Ranking Member for their efforts to ensure that our nation's veterans are well taken care of by maintaining adequate funding for veterans' health care and other benefits on which so many have come to count on. Again, I'm pleased overall with the funding levels proposed in this bill today, and I'm pleased that during the full committee markup we were able to move a contentious and divisive restriction on implementation of Davis-Bacon wage requirements. But unfortunately, there is one item that I believe will complicate the passage of this bill. I'm troubled by the inclusion of a provision that prohibits the use of project labor agreements for any project in this bill. This divisive policy rider should not be included in an appropriation bill, and the decision to implement PLAs should remain at the discretion of the agency as to whether it is appropriate for an individual project. The inclusion of this provision unnecessarily complicates the support for a bill that would otherwise pass with wide bipartisan support. I expect an amendment to be offered that would remove the restriction on PLAs and would further improve the bill. I would like to urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to support the amendment. Regardless, I remain committed to working with my colleagues to respectfully work out any differences on the floor so that we can give me another 30 seconds.
I yield the gentleman another 30 seconds.
So that we may pass a bipartisan bill that adequately provides for our troops, veterans, and military families. And again, I intend to support this bill, and I wish we could finish tonight, but I understand we can't, and I look forward to seeing this bill done. And I commend again the Chairman and Ranking Member for their good work. Thank you.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to, Mr. Chairman, I want to say very briefly again, truly how much I appreciate working with all the members of this committee, Mr. Dix, Mr. Bishop. All of us have worked with one goal in mind, and that is to ensure the peace of mind of our men and women in uniform and our retired military members, to ensure that no matter where they go, no matter what they're doing, they don't have a worry in the world. We want to make sure they are taken care of. And we've done so in a way that is fiscally responsible. We've done so in a way ever mindful of the record debt, the record deficit, of the inability of many of the projects the VA's worked on before getting done on time, or frankly even getting started, making sure that disability claims are paid on time. We're also presenting the bill tonight, Mr. Chairman, giving any member of the House an opportunity to come down and file an amendment and be heard in an open and transparent way, something that we in the new majority committed to do, that every American would have an opportunity to read the bill online at least 72 hours in advance. It's vitally important that we, doing the nation's business, do so in a way that's absolutely transparent and open and straightforward, especially when it comes to supporting our men and women in uniform, and when it comes to making sure they are taken care of and have no worries. There are no party labels, and it's really been a privilege to work with each and every one of you on this committee. I see my good friend Mr. Farr, California, is here. He's been a particularly valuable member of the subcommittee. He has brought great expertise to the committee, and look forward to hearing from him tonight as well. And I'll reserve my time. Thank you.
Gentleman from Georgia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I am delighted to yield to Mr. Farr of California, who is the ranking member of the Agriculture Subcommittee of Appropriations, but who is a longtime member of this Milcon VA Subcommittee. I'm happy to yield to Mr. Farr.
Gentleman yields for as much time as he may consume.
Thank you very much. 2.5 minutes, excuse me.
Gentleman is recognized for 2.5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bishop, for yielding. It's a pleasure to serve on this committee. I might be the longest-serving member on the committee, but I'm a ranking member on another committee, and it's a pleasure to serve. And I welcome Mr. Culbertson to his new role as chair of the committee. And it's always a pleasure to serve with Mr. Dix and Mr. Rogers, the ranking and chair of the major committee. This committee is unique in Congress. It's the only committee there where both active duty military and veterans are dealt with in the same policy. There's no other committee in this House or in the Senate that has the one-stop that this committee has. And it's a pleasure to be focused on the continuum of care for active duty and reservists and veterans. This past weekend, we remembered patriotic sacrifices of those who have lost their lives in service to our country. And today, we renew our commitment to keep our promise to our nation's more than 2 million troops and reservists, their families, and 23 million veterans. This committee has a strong history of working in a bipartisan way to produce a bill that supports our active duty service members and our veterans. I'm proud to support some much-needed increases in the Veterans Affairs Department. And I would note that while this bill is $1.4 billion above last year's level, it is also $1.2 billion less than what the President requested. Additionally, I'm pleased to see that this bill emphasizes the needs of our veterans in rural areas. The National Cemetery Administration anticipates that 10% of all the veterans will not receive access to burial options in a national, state, or tribal cemetery within 75 miles of their home. I am pleased that this bill directs the National Cemetery Administration to develop a strategy to serve our rural veterans. This language is important because it recognizes that veterans who live in rural communities should be treated on par with veterans who live in urban areas in all services provided by the VA. In my rural district, Central Coast of California, veterans are moving a step closer to achieving a dream of a veteran cemetery at the former Fort Ord military base. I commend the chairman and ranking member for their hard work in ensuring that this bill is another significant step in fulfilling the promise our country has made, to leave no veteran behind. I urge support for this bill on one condition. The condition is that the Davis-Bacon prohibition needs to be taken out. With that, I yield back. Thank you.
Gentleman continues to reserve. Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I reserve my time.
Gentleman continues to reserve. Gentleman from Georgia. Gentleman from Georgia have additional speakers?
Do you have additional speakers?
Not at this time. We reserve.
We have no further speakers.
Again, if I may.
You may.
If I may.
Gentleman yield time.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I want to say very briefly, one of the reasons we're trying to move expeditiously on this is we want to make sure our men and women in uniform have everything they need as soon as possible. We're trying to get this bill through to ensure that we not only get it that we get it done in an expeditious fashion. So I reserve my time.
From Georgia, continue to reserve or yield back.
We're prepared to yield back. We're prepared to yield back.
Gentleman from Georgia
thank the
yields
gentleman.
Back. Gentleman from Texas. Gentleman from Texas is recognized. Gentleman from Texas. Do you the gentleman is yielded back. Do you yield back your time?
Okay. Sure. Mr. Speaker, I would like to. We are waiting for an amendment to be completed drafting, but it's important, I think, to re-emphasize, if I could, in the time I have remaining, Mr. Speaker, it's important to emphasize the scale of the problem the nation faces this is not just a record deficit and record debt we face. It's actually a whole lot bigger than that. As we make sure that our men and women in uniform are taken care of and with their housing, we've made sure that, for example, the Marine, all the BEQs for the bachelor's enlisted quarters are fully funded, that the Army, the Navy, the Air Force is fully funded, that our veterans are fully funded. We've had to do this in a way that's fiscally responsible because we are ever mindful of the scale of the problem the nation faces financially. It's difficult to even begin to comprehend how huge the problem is that has been created by so many years of previous Congresses, of previous administrations, too many promises to too many people on too many occasions on money that was borrowed from future generations. And the result has been that today the unfunded liability facing the taxpayers of the nation are about $49.6 trillion. And those are liabilities for, at present value, for example, the publicly held debt, the military and civilian pensions, retiree health benefits, and other explicit direct liabilities of about $16.9 trillion. Now, the entire U.S. economy is about $13 trillion. Our gross domestic products, I think, right at about $13 trillion. So just the explicit liabilities that we have to pay already exceed the size of the entire U.S. economy. Now, we've got long-term contingencies and implicit liabilities. For example, the future cost of Social Security benefits are $31 trillion. Future Medicare benefits under Part A, Part B, and Part D, all added together, create, this is unfunded liability for which there's no source of revenue lined up to pay for this, of about $50 trillion, 49.6. Now, to give you an idea how big that number is, in order to pay that liability off, every living American would have to write a check tonight for $159,000 to pay off that future unfunded liability. I've had constituents ask me if they just write that check, can they be done? Is that it? They're done. I wish it were that simple, but we and the Appropriations Committee, this vast amount of money that we spend every year, this extraordinary responsibility with which we have been entrusted by our constituents the amount of money we spend every year pales in significance to the size of the unfunded liabilities in the future. The amount of money that we spend every year in the Appropriations Committee, about a little over $1 trillion, extraordinary amount of money, $1,000 billion, it is dwarfed by the size of the unfunded liability that we face in the future. And it's important to remember for everyone, Mr. Speaker, listening to this debate tonight, to remember that the money we spend here tonight in support of our troops, the money we spend on Homeland Security, to build highways, to pay for all the things the federal government does, it's all borrowed. The hole is so deep that's been dug by our predecessors, and again, too many promises to too many people on too many occasions, too many big government promises. I'm still wondering about Lyndon Johnson's war on poverty. That has how many trillions of dollars later, and that still hadn't worked out. We in the new constitutional conservative majority are absolutely committed to getting us back on track to a balanced budget because we recognize the scale of the problem, the urgency of the impending these unfunded liabilities, this massive bill that's going to come due to our children and grandchildren. That is in fact, the Joint Chiefs of Staff who do an annual an analysis about every 5 years on the strategic threats facing the United States, and analyzing all the threats facing our nation, the Joint Chiefs concluded that one of the greatest threats to America's one of the greatest strategic threats America faces is our national debt. This unfunded liability, these crushing obligations that our kids are going to inherit if we as a Congress don't work as we have on this subcommittee in a way without regard to party for the benefit of the nation, to find ways to make sure that Social Security, Medicare are solvent, that we get the entitlement programs under control, because they're going right off a cliff unless we make sure we rescue them and make sure they're solvent and there for our kids. But we got to make sure that we're doing everything within our power in the annual appropriations process to save every single dollar that we can. Now, and there's been some debate, Mr. Chairman, and some members of Congress in the past have said, well, we just need to raise taxes. My predecessor, Bill Archer, who was chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, had an analysis done that showed that even if you were to confiscate all of the corporate income, 100% the corporate income in America, that would generate about $1.3 trillion. If the government were to confiscate 100% of all individual income, over $200,000, that would generate about $2.1 trillion. So you can see that it isn't possible to solve this problem by raising taxes, and that's something we also understand instinctively as conservatives, that if you just simply get the government out of our lives, out of our pocket, out of our way, and leave us alone to raise our kids, to run our businesses, to run our lives, let Texans run Texas, let Georgia run Georgia. If you unleash the entrepreneurial creativity of the American people, the economy will grow, people will invest and save their own money far wiser than the government will, and we'll begin to dig out of this hole that we're in. We're committed not just to saving money year to year through the appropriations process, we're committed to ensuring that Medicare, Social Security, that these social safety net programs that are so essential to our nation are there for the future, for our children and our grandchildren. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that we have done our job in a fiscally responsible way this year when it comes to military construction and Veterans Affairs or Homeland Security or Transportation or Labor, Health, and Human Services, all the various subcommittees of appropriations. That's year-to-year dollars that we have direct control over right now, but we're also thinking long-term. We also want to eliminate that threat that the Joint Chiefs of Staff identified, the greatest threat to our long-term national security they identified as the national debt, much of which is held by nations hostile to the United States. Deeply, deeply disturbing, Mr. Chairman, that the Communist Chinese government buys so much of our debt. They're the largest purchaser today of gold. The Chinese economy is thundering. They have a very aggressive campaign underway to acquire as much intellectual property as they can through espionage and acquisition. We have, as a nation, in allowing this debt to be created and allowing so many of our so many nations that are hostile to the United States to buy our debt, have placed too much power in the hands of the Chinese, of sovereign wealth funds. And we here tonight, when it comes to supporting our military, through this construction bill, through the Veterans Affairs, we've made sure our men and women in uniform have everything they need in a fiscally responsible way. And this is just a first step of many that we will take on this committee to get America back on track to a balanced budget. Mr. Chairman, I think that the members of the minority and our staff have been working to put together a en bloc amendment so we can attempt to continue to expedite this process and ensure that this bill is done as quickly as possible in order that, again, our men and women in uniform can have the peace of mind of knowing they're taken care of and there's no bubble in the logistical supply chain, and they're not going to have to worry about disability claims if they go to a veterans hospital or make sure their housing needs are taken care of on basis. We've got an en bloc amendment, Mr. Chairman, I think that should be, I believe, on the brink of being ready for consideration so that we can move very rapidly to passage of this bill and get it over to the Senate, because we know how long it sometimes takes the Senate to get things done.
Gentleman reserve.
Mr. Chairman, I believe I can yield back my time at this point because I think we're very close to getting the agreed-to group of amendments done.
Would the gentleman like to enter into a colloquy with the gentleman from Georgia?
I'd be happy to enter into a colloquy with my good friend from Georgia, Mr. Bishop.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. We have, I think, presented a good bill with the caveats that have been expressed by Ranking Member Dix and myself, along with Mr. Farr. And at this time, I think we're prepared to entertain the amendments. I think the chairman has some en bloc amendments that he will like to offer, and we're happy to entertain those and move forward at this time.
Mr. Chairman, I yield back time on general debate. Let's move forward to the amendments.
The gentleman from Texas yields back. All time for general debate has expired. Pursuant to the rule, the bill shall be considered read for amendment under the 5-minute rule. During consideration of the bill for amendment, the chair may accord priority and recognition to a member offering an amendment who has caused it to be printed in the designated place in the congressional record. Those amendments will be considered read. The clerk will read.
The enactment of the following funds are appropriated for military construction, the Department of Veterans Affairs and related agencies for 2012, namely Title I, Department of Defense, Military Construction, Army, including rescission of funds, $3,144,491,000 to remain available until September 30th, 2016.
The clerk will suspend. For what purpose the gentleman from Texas rise?
Mr. Chairman, I would ask unanimous consent that the remainder of the bill through page 60, line 9, be considered as read, printed in the record, and open to amendment at any point.
Is there objection? Hearing none, so ordered. For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas rise?
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment offered by Mr. Culberson of Texas. On page 29, line 16, after the dollar amount, insert reduced by $20 million, increased by $20 million. Page 31, line 2, after the dollar amount, insert reduced by $100,000, increased by $100,000. Page 32, line 7, after the dollar amount, insert increased by $22 million. Page 33, line 12, after the dollar amount, insert reduced by $22 million. Page 34, line 4, after the dollar amount, insert the following: reduced by $100,000, increased by $100,000. Page 35, line 4, after the dollar amount, insert reduced by $70 million, increased by $70 million.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas rise?
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent that debate on this amendment and any amendments thereto be limited to 10 minutes, to be equally divided and controlled by myself and the ranking member, Mr. Bishop.
Is there objection? Hearing none, so ordered. The gentleman from Texas is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, this is an amendment which we've worked hard to come up with, again, arm in arm in a cooperative bipartisan way to increase, for example, we're making sure we've got $20 million set aside for suicide prevention outreach, a terrible, terrible problem among veterans, and a high priority for us to do everything we can to help prevent suicide. That amendment offered by Congressman Holt and Runyon. Also, this is another amendment we are submitting to attempt to reduce wait times for mental health services, also to increase research funding by $22 million, offset by a reduction in general administration, and also, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, to set aside $100,000 for the purpose of a study of Veterans Affairs VA historic properties. And I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Georgia.
At this time, I'd like to yield 1.5 minutes to the gentleman, Mr. Holt.
Gentleman from New Jersey is recognized for 1.5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I thank the gentleman, and I appreciate that this bipartisan amendment offered by my colleague, Representative Runyon of New Jersey, has been accepted by the majority, and I thank Chair Culbertson and Ranking Member Bishop and their staffs for making this possible. As you may know, Mr. Chairman, last month the federal Ninth Circuit Court sided with 2 veterans groups that sued the Department of Veterans Affairs for failing to provide timely care to veterans at risk of suicide. The court noted that on average, 18 veterans per day take their own lives. I'll repeat, on average, 18 veterans per day take their own lives. We must end this suicide epidemic. This amendment is one important step in that process. Our amendment is simple. It fences $20 million of the $1 billion in advance funding for the VA fiscal years 2013 and 2014 and dedicates these funds to suicide prevention outreach. Specifically, our intention is to use television ads and social media. We know that when veterans are made aware of the National Suicide Prevention number, which is 1-800-273-TALK, they use it, and lives are saved. 1-800-273-TALK. Indeed, in the state of New Jersey, we have our own veteran counseling hotline, the Vet-to-Vet program run by the University of Medicine and Dentistry in New Jersey. Since it went live a half-dozen years ago, no New Jersey Guard member who has used its services has taken his or her own life. It is a successful program. We want to see this expanded. When we get the word out about these counseling services, we save lives. It's past time that we push the VA to do the advertising and the outreach that's necessary to reach the people who need it. This amendment is budget neutral, it's vitally needed, and I thank my colleagues for carrying it forward.
Gentleman's time expired. Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Chairman, I'm pleased at this time to yield such time as you may